Hello, thank you for joining us. We're here at FEMA headquarters with some of the folks who have activated to be prepared for Hurricane Matthew, and we wanted to take a few minutes to tell you what the federal government is doing and what you can do to be better prepared for all disasters, but specifically a significant storm that is heading towards the southeast coast. So before I get into those messages, with me is Daniel Porter. He is a NOAA Liaison to FEMA. And Daniel, wanted to ask if you could talk to us a little bit about what the storm is looking like.
Sure, Josh, and thanks for having us on. So right now, as we look at satellite imagery here, we did see Matthew emerge back out into the Atlantic Ocean. It did impact eastern Cuba during the overnight hours, and it is now making its way into the Bahamas at this hour. And we have seen some slight weakening over the past 24 hours, but we are starting to see the indications that this storm is starting to get it reorganized again and will most likely start to intensify over the next 24 to 36 hours. In fact, this storm is a very powerful hurricane right now. It is a Category 3 storm. It's about 120 mile an hour winds with gusts as high as 145 miles per hour. So there's something very serious heading its way towards the southeastern United States. At this point in time, the storm is moving towards the northwest at 12 miles an hour, and it is expected to move through the Bahamas today and then eventually make its way towards the Florida coast. You see here on the graphic here on the screen is the forecast from the National Hurricane Center, and this is as of 2 o'clock this afternoon. And as you can see here, the major Hurricane Matthew is expected to make its way northwestward over the next 24 to 36 hours, and is expected to eventually, as we go into Thursday and into Friday, parallel the coast of the Florida peninsula as we go into that time frame. As you see on this graphic here, the areas highlighted in red is where hurricane warnings are currently in effect, and then we also have hurricane watches also in effect across portions of northeast Florida and along portions of the Georgia coastline. We also have the Hurricane Center has also issued a tropical storm warning as well for portions of southern Florida as well as the Keys. So one thing to do keep in mind as this storm system is making its way towards the southeastern United States is that a hurricane is not a point on the map, and that impacts will be felt well away from the center of circulation, especially for those folks across southern Florida, even though it might be tracking its way east of the Florida Peninsula or potentially over the Florida Peninsula. Those impacts will be felt well away from the center of circulation. Then, as you can see here, as we get into the upcoming weekend, we do have some uncertainty in the forecasts across the, as we get across the southeastern United States. How quickly the system makes its way towards the east is still a bit uncertain, but as you can see that it does appear that it will be taking more of an easterly track as we go into the upcoming weekend, and it does appear that the threat towards the mid-Atlantic and the northeastern United States looks less likely as compared to 24 hours ago. One thing that does challenge this forecast a little bit is it's paralleling the coast. There will be a very sharp gradient of impacts across portions of Florida. If this track does move more towards the west, then we'll see much more severe impacts across the Florida Peninsula as well as southeast Georgia. But do keep in mind, if we do take a more easterly track, then the more severe impacts might remain over the ocean. Nonetheless, folks in this area should be prepared to take action right now before the storm makes its way into the southeastern United States. We still anticipate potential severe impacts across the area, including tropical or hurricane-force winds, which will cause significant damage, particularly along the eastern Florida coast and possibly into Georgia. Coastal inundation, you could potentially see in some locations 3 to 5 feet deep of water above the ground for those areas along the immediate coast. And then in addition to that, we also have the risk for isolated tornadoes, and then we also have the risk as well for heavy rainfall. I'll show here the rainfall forecast from the Weather Prediction Center as of earlier this afternoon. As you can see, the heaviest rainfall is just off the coast, but one thing to keep in mind that is if this system does take a little bit more of a westerly track, that heavy rainfall will make its way into portions deeper areas of Florida as well as into Georgia. But if it does take a more easterly track, then those rainfall amounts could potentially be less. Nonetheless, folks should take very close attention to this because significant heavy rainfall across this area could lead to flash flooding. And one thing to note is that flash flooding is one of the biggest dangers actually of hurricanes. More flash flood fatalities do occur than actually wind impacts across the area. So something to do keep in mind and pay attention to the forecast.
So Daniel, we're worried about the water being pushed ashore, so that storm surge, but we're also worried about the rainfall causing additional flash flooding as well.
Absolutely, and potentially even some significant rises in some of the area streams and rivers as well. So some moderate to major flooding of some of the more vulnerable rivers and streams is certainly possible as well.
Okay. Yep.
And I also encourage folks also, this is the latest forecast at 2 o'clock. The National Hurricane Center will provide an update again at 5 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Every 3 hours they'll have an update.
And they find that at hurricanes.gov?
That's correct.
Right.
And I encourage folks also use the FEMA app as well, right on their iPhones or their Blackberries.
We do have a mobile app that provides a lot of great preparedness information on it. So, so you've now heard the bad news. Daniel got to deliver the bad news. The bad news is there's a significant storm approaching Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. The good news is there is time to prepare. In this country, first responders are individual citizens. It's people like us taking action to protect our families, to protect our communities, to protect our homes as well. So that's what people should be doing right now. They should be taking this information that the Weather Service is working so hard to produce and taking action. What can you do? You can make sure you have a family plan. You know how to get in contact with your friends and family when a disaster occurs. You can make sure you have some supplies on hand before the storm hits. Whether that's food, water, medicine, supplies. Don't forget about your pets, pet food as well. You can find out where you would go if you did have to evacuate. Shelters in your location or in your area, shelters that accept pets as well. You can find that information in a number of different places, including on our FEMA app that Daniel mentioned, and from your state and local resources as well. Most important thing for those people right along the coast, Daniel, where we're worried about that storm surge hitting, is to know what evacuation zone you live in. So find that information out. And as the President said today when he came over for a briefing here at FEMA headquarters, if you are told to evacuate by your state or local officials, please follow those instructions. We can replace stuff, we can't replace people. We need to make sure that we get people out of harm's way. So listening to your state and local officials when they're providing you with that life-saving advice and following those evacuation orders if you get them is key to ensuring that everyone stays safe in this serious situation that we're in right now. That's what locals and individuals can do. What FEMA and the federal government are doing, we've been monitoring this storm thanks to the Weather Service since last week. We have people and resources pre-positioned in all 4 potentially impacted states. We have warehouses with supplies. We are ready if a governor or a tribal official asks us for federal assistance, if they are overwhelmed by this storm, then we will be prepared to come in and provide additional resources and support to make sure that the communities can be safe and begin the recovery process. So whether that's the incident management assistant teams that we already have on site to assist, or the resources and supplies that we've already moved into the area, we are prepared to offer that support if it's required. But the most important message right now is listen to the regular forecast that you get from the Weather Service and follow the instructions of your state and local officials. If you are told to evacuate, don't wait. Don't wait to see if every 3 hours, right, Daniel?
Right.
So don't wait to see if the forecast changes and you think maybe it'll be okay. If you get that evacuation order, that is what the local officials in your community think you need to do to ensure that you, your family are safe. And don't forget to check on your neighbors as well. If you get that word that you need to leave, check on your neighbors, make sure that everyone is okay, reach out to your family. Again, a lot of great assets and resources for you at hurricanes.gov, on the FEMA app, and at ready.gov. And we're just focused on making sure that we provide this information to people so that they can take steps to protect themselves.